When you understand that the invitation is your validation, that validation will give you victory, which puts you in a position of vindication so that you can get your value from the marketplace. You're listening to the Leverage Your Incredible Factor podcast with Darnyelle Jervey Harmon, the place to be to leverage and scale a business that serves you financially and spiritually. I'm your host, spiritual business growth strategist, Darnyelle J. Harmon. Join me each week for inspiring stories, powerful interviews, and business growth strategy to help you experience abundance in your life because of your business. If you are ready to play and pray bigger, let's get this party started. If this is your first time joining me, there's just a few things I want to make sure that you know. Number one, I am not new to this. I am true to this. For more than 10 years, I have been growing businesses, period. I am the absolute best at combining spiritual principles with business growth strategy to turn entrepreneurs into multiple 6- and 7-figure CEOs. And no, in case you were wondering, you do not have to choose. You can love God and make boatloads of money. And I'm on a mission to create even more multiple 6- and 7-figure CEOs. Oh, and we don't do hustle and grind. We do spirituality and systems. You might be wondering exactly what the incredible factor is. And if that's you, I invite you to go all the way back to our very first episode. I even give you a really powerful worksheet that you can download so that you can find yours, because it is the key to beginning to leverage and scale your business. And I am tickled purple that you are listening in today. This episode is powered by the Grow Your Business Toolkit. If you are a low-figure, no-figure, 5-figure, or even a 6-figure service-based entrepreneur who has been scratching your head trying to figure out how to get your business to 7 figures, I got what you need. You need to stop what you're doing and go to growyourbiztoolkit.com to get your hands on this very powerful resource that I created that will literally give you the keys to the 7-figure castle. growyourbiztoolkit.com. In this episode, I don't know who needs to hear this, but just before I started recording, I literally asked God, what is it that you want me to share with the people? And so this episode is for you if you have been questioning your purpose, if you have been wondering if you're worth it, and if you have been trying to figure out how to prove that you are who you say you are and you are deserving of what you think you deserve to experience. This episode is for you. I cannot recall exactly when was the very first time I heard the words that I'm about to say to you, but I can tell you who I was talking to and what immediately leapt in my spirit. I was having a good conversation with one of my business besties. Actually, she's my sister. I'm not even going to front. She's my sister from another mister. From the moment that I met her, I knew that she was placed in my life to stretch me, to edify me, to support me, to admonish me, to be whatever I needed to be so that I could be the best version of myself. I hope that you have a person like this in your life as well. I am talking about my good friend, Janice. I don't know if I'm allowed to say her middle name, but I'm going to say it anyway. Janice Luttrell Anderson. Janice is my heart in so many different ways. You know, she loves me. She loves on me. She prays for me. She prays with me. I just love her to pieces. And I remember we were having a conversation, as we often do, about who knows what topic when this masterpiece popped out of her mouth. She said, and I quote, "The invitation is your validation." Man, whoa. Blown away instantly, the hairs on my arms standing on end. And that is always an indication for me that God is with me, God is present, God is moving in and through me. And I immediately began to run with that phrase, the invitation is your validation. And I told her, I said, Janice, boo, I'm going to give you credit the very first time. And then I'm going to make this thing like I said it because of the way that it hit my spirit. And because she loves me, she was like, girl, please. That's what we do, right? That's what you and your besties do. We say all the time, stolen, like when we say something powerful that we love, that we are taking it. And so I kind of have taken on this, the invitation is your validation. And today, again, I don't know who this is for in terms of who's going to be listening to this episode, when you're going to listen, the point at which you're going to hear me share these words and speak this blessing over your life, this realization that when God created you, he not only knew what he was doing, but he was in fact showing off. He was showing the world what incredible looks like. And I know many of us, and depending upon the various ways that you might be following me, you may have even seen me do this demonstration. I do this demonstration where I take a clear vase full of water and I talk about how when we're born, right after being formed in our mother's womb, right before our daddy's sperm and our mother's egg met in the most beautiful dance, because it created us, God knew us and approved us, right? And so when we're born, we come into this world vessels of light, fresh off of an experience, an encounter with God, a full knowing and understanding that not only have we been known, but we've been approved by the Most High God, the creator of the abundant universe in which we live. And then something happens. Sometimes it's that we meet our parents. And no disrespect to your parents, or no disrespect to my parents, because I believe that my parents did the best that they could with what they had. And their best was enough at that particular point in time. But through my parents' best, I met fear, I met lack, I met addiction, I met chaos, I met confusion. I questioned everything about me. And if that wasn't enough, when I was 8 years old, my mom's home was raided and she was taken to jail. And so if my vessel wasn't already cloudy, and so when I'm doing this demonstration, we start with a clear vase of water, and then I pour in iodine, a dark substance, and it muddies the water, right? And the muddying of the water happens at the first onset of fear or lack or disbelief or confusion or addiction. Whatever happens first, it immediately muddies the water. And what tends to happen is we go on to grow up and become adults who are literally walking around in muddy water. We are cloudy vessels trying to hear God and do work of God and perform miracles and transform lives and shake the planet when we can't even barely get ourselves out of the bed in the morning. And then if we're lucky, if we're blessed, if we are woke, if we are seeking to become the best version of ourselves, we meet either God himself or someone who introduces us to God in a new way. And so when I'm doing this demonstration, I then say, and then you met a girl named Darnyelle, right? Because my mission, my mantle, my mandate is to help you to experience God in a way that is none other, no way, no shape, no how, like the way you met him first, so that this time it sticks. And you create in yourself a clean heart, a new opportunity to do work that shakes the planet. And most importantly, understands and supports the version of you that God knew and approved before you were formed in your mother's womb. And so when I'm doing this demonstration, I start to pour bleach into the muddy water, the iodine water, and slowly but surely, the water returns to a clear vessel. And what I want you to know as I do this demonstration, as I'm using this as an indication of what is most likely preventing you from being able to build a business that serves you, to charge what you were created to charge, and to show up in the world in the way that best serves the brilliance that was baked on the inside of you, is to get a clear knowing and understanding that whenever you're presented with an opportunity to be in front of people, whether it's one person in a sales conversation, whether it's multiple people over lunch, or a whole host of people at a speaking engagement, your live event. The fact that they are there, the invitation to come to speak with them, to have lunch, to get on a call is the validation that will give you positioning enough to know that that who you are and who God created you to be is exactly what they need in that moment. That the invitation is the validation. And when I speak of the invitation, please don't misunderstand me. I'm not just talking about them agreeing to have a discovery call with you, right? I'm not just talking about them inviting you on their podcast. I'm not just talking about you getting booked to speak at a speaking engagement. I'm talking about the truest fact that the invitation to inhabit the sperm and the egg, to be the being that is created, that was known and approved before you are formed in your mother's womb, that invitation is your validation. Now, I wouldn't be doing myself or you justice if I didn't back everything that I'm saying up to you, founded in the word. Okay, so we're going to go to the word, and I'm just going to share 5 of my favorite scriptures, 7 at max, but at least 5. 5 is my favorite number. It's the number of grace. I'm going to share 5 scriptures with you that just to prove the point that I'm trying to make to you, that my hope is that you come out of this, and I'm going to leave you with a few things that you can do to begin to walk into the invitation and be validated, knowing that you don't need to change anything about yourself or try to pretend as if you're someone that you're not in order to be seen and heard and valued for what it is that you bring to the table for others. So the first scripture I already gave you, Jeremiah 1:5. Before you were formed in your mother's womb, God knew you and approved you and called you prophet and gave you a message to share with the nations, right? The next is Genesis 1:26. He says, let us make man in our image and likeness, right? So that means that before you were formed in your mother's womb, when God knew you and approved you, he created you in his image and his likeness. And just the mere fact that he did that, when we go back to Genesis, it goes on to say, and let them have dominion, right? So before you were formed in your mother's womb, you were given dominion. You were given the ability to reign over the earth before you became Jacqueline, Sarah, Shanika, or Darnyelle, or whatever your name might be that as you're listening to this. Before you became known as that person, you already had dominion, right? Deuteronomy 8:18 says that, for it is the Lord your God that has given you the power to create wealth, or the ability to create wealth, depending upon the version of the Bible that you are reading. Again, that power was given to you before you were formed in your mother's womb, right? Before you were formed in your mother's womb. Ephesians 3:20 says, you will do exceedingly and abundantly above all you could ask of, think, or imagine, according to the power. There's that power again that is at work within you. So before you were formed in your mother's womb, you were invited there. And that invitation, boo, incredible one, sweet thing. That invitation is your validation to be who God created you to be, to do the work that you have been called to do, and to do that work in excellence at a level that allows you to experience abundance financially and spiritually. And so depending upon how muddy your vessel has been before you've really deepened your relationship with God, you may be struggling to feel as if the invitation is your validation. So I want to help you. I want to give you about maybe 5 different steps that I recommend that you undergo in order to claim your validation and begin to walk boldly and stronger into who you are. A lot of what I'm going to share with you is a big part of my model of financial and spiritual abundance, which I've got a whole episode here on the podcast about. I will link to that in the show notes. So if you want to go back and listen to it, you can. In the model of financial and spiritual abundance, we talk about the connection to God being how we get our confidence, right? It is hard to be in connection to God and not be confident. And it's the first sign that you're out of alignment if you claim to be in good relationship with God, but you struggle in confidence, because there's no way in the world you can be in God and not confident. It doesn't work that way. right? That's why I got to get you to understand that the invitation is your validation. So the first step is to get clear about who God says that you are. Who God says that you are, not who man says that you are, not even who you say that you are, not even the casual covenants that you speak over yourself. I'm talking about what God has to say. And there are so many scriptures, but if you are questioning where to go, my personal recommendation, and you've probably heard me say this several times on episodes of this podcast, is to start in the book of Ephesians. First chapter, first verse, read the whole first chapter and write down all of the words that will readily explain to you who God says that you are. He says that you are blessed, you are redeemed, you are anointed, you are a more than a conqueror, more for just a few of the things that he says about you. But see who God says that you are. That's the first thing. The second thing I want you to do is, after you make that list of who God says that you are, I want you to make a list of who you say that you are. Actually, you know what? Let's flip it. Let's back it up, flip it, and reverse it. Let's make the list of who you believe that you are first. And then let's go into the word of God and see if your list matches up with God's list and who God says that you are, right? Let's do it that way. I think it's going to be much more powerful if you compare who you say that you are to who God says that you are. And what I'm hoping that happens is that you have a cataclysmic reaction that ends in you in tears. Understanding that you have significantly undervalued who you are and who God sees you to be, right? So those are the first two steps. After that, I then want you to create some powerful affirmations, right? I used to abhor affirmations. I used to say, why do people even bother with affirmations? I mean, we make these I am statements and we immediately don't believe what it is that we are speaking over ourselves. And that is why we don't walk into it. But let me tell you how I've come to love, appreciate, and respect affirmations, because I came to realize after reading in Exodus about Moses, I've been called a modern day Moses. And for me, it wasn't a compliment until I had a clear understanding about what it is that they were saying about me. And so I went to read about Moses. And as I read, and in case you don't know the story, I'll give you the quick and dirty version. Moses basically had flown Egypt because he had killed someone, even though he was in, Pharaoh's house being raised by Pharaoh's daughter. And so anyway, when he comes back in town, God is like, you, Moses, come here. I got you. Listen, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to go deliver my people from Pharaoh. I need you to go to Pharaoh and convince him to let you leave with my people. And Moses was like, yo, God, listen, yeah, I'm not the man for that. You don't want me. Why don't you let my brother Aaron go? He's much more eloquent, because me, I'm slow of the tongue. And that might not be his exact words. This is the Darnyelle version, if you hadn't quite caught. And so God says, no, I'm sending you. And he says, well, what do I say when I get there? And who do I tell them sent me? And God says, I am that I am. And listen to me. Listen to me. All of a sudden it clicked. My hair was standing on end, which is always an indication that God is with me. And I was like, yo, oh my gosh. Every time we recite an affirmation, an I am statement, we are evoking God's presence. And so either God is going to show up or God is going to shrink back based on what is you say after I am. Joel Osteen says it this way. He says, whatever follows I am will hunt you down and overtake you. And so then I want you to take who you believe that you are and who God says that you are. And I want you to turn that into some powerful affirmation statements that you can begin to speak life over yourself on a consistent basis. I want you to also get, this is step number 4. I want you to get a visual representation, a visual cue, something that can be literally in front of you at all times, whether it's a little note on your computer. I've got notes all around my computer, a full picture that is in the background that you're looking at all day. Like I can see my vision board. I can see at Breakthrough in Business, my live event, we do a board breaking activity as a culmination of the event. I can see the board that I broke through. I can see a lot of different things looking at me. And all of those things give me a very clear understanding and reminder that whatever I'm about to walk into, whatever I've been invited to, is my validation. That I don't need to seek outside validation from anyone else, because before I was formed in my mother's womb, God knew and approved me. He knew that I was going to land in a family with parents that were addicted to drugs. He knew that. He knew everything that I was going to face, and he knew that I was going to come out on top. He knew that I was going to be a victor. So I've already been validated. I don't need to seek validation from any man, because God has already been giving me. What does this, Darnyelle, have to do with your business? Let me tell you. Because here's what I know. I'm going to take you back to the model of financial and spiritual abundance, which again, I will link to in the show notes. If you don't feel validated in who you are, then you won't possess the victory and the vision to walk boldly in vindication towards who you are, so that you present yourself consistently with value. Let me say that again for the people in the back. And let me just say, like, that literally just flowed in. That was not what I was expecting to say, right? But if you don't feel validated, then you won't possess the vision to be vindicated, to get your value in the marketplace. That's what's at stake. If you don't understand that the invitation that God made before you were formed in your mother's womb, and he knew and approved you with all the validation that you needed. So you can take that validation all the way to the bank. Incredible one. That validation will allow you to stand boldly. It'll allow you to look at your packages and your prices and price them in such a way based on the value, the transferable result that you bring to the table, instead of what the market will bear. I mean, that's the biggest hooey I've ever heard in my life. I believe that you price yourself based on what you want to earn, and people will pay it if you have results, right? Your results will help people to understand your value and to easily and effortlessly make the investment in themselves to access what it is that you have. The invitation is your validation. And the sooner you get in God and get validated, the sooner you'll be able to show up in victory, which means the sooner you'll be able to walk in vindication, which means it'll be the sooner that you can start earning the value that you deserve to earn. I want you to notice that I didn't say worth, right? Because validation is never a worthiness conversation, in my opinion. I did an episode called The Worthiness Debate. I will link to that as well. But validation is never about worth. Value is never about worth. It's about what you deserve to earn based on what it is you bring to the table. Because let's just be clear, if we're standing flat-footed, the fact that you were created by God means that no one could ever afford you. You are priceless. That's why I don't have a worth conversation, right? That's why we don't talk about what you are worth, because anyone who is investing in themselves through you they're not investing in your worth. They're investing in the expertise, the authority, the influence, the years of study that you have done in order to be the end all be all solution that they need right now to solve their problem. But again, I say, until you get validated, you won't have vision enough to walk in vindication to get your value on every transaction. I'm excited about the remix I just gave to the model of financial and spiritual abundance. I can't wait to have my team update our visual, because I love, love, love the V's, right? Oh, I love it. I hope you love it too. And more than anything, I hope that from this moment on, after completing this episode, you realize that everything you've been invited to means you've already been validated to be there, so that you no longer have to stand in question of whether or not your credentials are enough, your programs are enough, or just you are enough, because you are in fact enough. God already said it. He said it before you were formed in your mother's womb. That knowing and approval process, listen, it'll change your life if you let it. I'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me for the Leverage Your Incredible Factor Business Podcast. If, after listening to this episode, you know that it's time that you stop playing and praying small, you should go grab my Grow Your Business Toolkit. Based on the pillars of business optimization, this toolkit is the only resource you need to get crystal clear about what it will take to take your business to the 7-figure mark. Go grab yours today at growyourbiztoolkit.com. And if you enjoyed our time together, do yourself a favor. Head on over to iTunes, subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. Until next time, remember, you deserve to scale your business, shake the planet, and fund the life you crave. Take care.